Wow, yeah, we're having a fun time. Oh, boy. Oh, I was kissing those rats again. Oh, should I kiss the... Uh-oh. Oh, this is plague. Oh, fuck. Oh, we're gonna fix the plague. Come on, bud. Yeah, come on. We're gonna fix your plague. We're gonna fix it. Down into the charnel pit you go. Woo! Oh, I don't like this. Hey, come on, check it out. I found some green shit. What? Waka waka.
I'm just fucking useless to some acid. What are we doing?
I'll just get out of here. And I don't really have I can't afford the copay. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus.
Come on, that's $20,000 for your fucking ambulance right next door. Now we're gonna get you in here real good. All right, let's fuck him up.
Uh-oh.
Get him back on that fucking table. Yeah, you wear this helmet. We're gonna really do some shit to you now. Look, he's not qualified to be a doctor.
Here we go. We're gonna fix your plague good. Oh, it's not a dream. The reality's worse than fantasy. Oh, or is it? I'm not dead. I don't have hospital debt. Yeah, you do. Hello, Jasmine.
Hi.
Oh. Hello, and welcome to Star Time. Hi, how are you all doing tonight? How are you, Jasmine?
I'm good.
Guess what I did today?
Harassed me for most of the morning and then made a weird cartoon in the middle of the day. That scared me.
I didn't make that. That was actually what aired on CBS in 1984.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Can you believe that the Muppet Babies talked about the plague and problems with just like modern society? It's crazy.
I suppose they would have to.
Yeah, right? You know what else is crazy?
My hair right now, like, what are you doing with the, like...
I'm trying to get our filters working.
Thank you.
I wanted to color correct us and make us look beautiful, and instead I've just put a bunch of shit here.
I did my makeup and I regret it now because I'm, like, super shiny. I shouldn't have done it. Whoops.
Our chroma key's just not working.
Oh,
no.
Now it's better. Are you seriously, like, no.
Well, I'm not sure if our usual media source is running or not. There!
Ooh. I was reacting to the wine I was drinking, but this is good too.
Oh, production. Everyone enjoys production here on Star Time. Yeah. Oh, planets that have herpes. Yes. Well, Uranus may had a horrible disaster happen to it, which is why it's on its side. If it happens to have herpes, then, you know, Uranus. How do you pronounce that planet, Jasmine?
Isn't it Uranus?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. I mean...
I've actually heard that it really is Uranus is the actual preferred pronunciation.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but Carl Sagan and Cosmos in the 70s was like, Uranus, to keep people from...
laughing hysterically.
Yeah, and making, you know, jokes like smashed Uranus. Thank you, Mr. Skin Skull. Keeping things lively in the chat.
I think it does have herpes, though.
Well, herpes is better than the plague.
I'd rather have the plague.
Hot take.
Because then I'd just be dead, and 2020 is sucking hard, so... But a plague would probably be an improvement, let's be real.
Would you rather have a plague or a plague of babies?
Oh.
20 babies all screaming for
babies?
You. Human babies.
I would rather have the plague.
Even with the 30 to 60% fatality rate?
Sure.
I think if it was like 20 kids, I probably would too. That'd be horrible.
I would have chosen the plague over one kid, to be honest. I'm giving it real.
Spicy tonight.
It's another hot take from me.
And with hot takes, a wash with hot takes here. Let's go, dude.
Babies are very cute, but when I'm not holding them or taking any responsibility from them in any way, shape, or form. I will say that.
Would you like to know some space news tonight?
I would love to.
Let's look at the world of space. We've discussing. It turns out, like last week, we were chatting about how the Mars rover was delayed. Guess what happened again?
Something failed.
Yeah, they did a wet test on it, which I think they put some fuel in it and just to see how stuff is working in like the main rocket, and some oxygen sensor went nuts. So
It's always important to do a wet test before you do anything. Everything's better with lubrication, I guess. Is that what that's about?
well, you got to make sure your moisture levels are correct.
Ugh.
It's not rocket science, but except when it is.
Downvote for the word moisture.
Moist.
Anyway,
Keep
continue.
your oxygen sensors moist.
More knowledge, please.
Not much. It's just that it was originally gonna. It was the 17th, I think, of this month, and then the 20th, and now it's at the 30th, and they have to launch it by mid-August, or they're gonna just miss the launch window to get to Mars this time around.
Huh.
So they have to basically put it on the shelf for 2 years, 26 months, basically.
I'm sure there'll be a place where they can do that in 2 years' time.
Ooh. Let's see here. We've got oh my.
The wet test got canceled because Tech's tongue got like tired.
Did you know that there's a missing
That's
star?
a good one. What?
There's a missing star.
Did they find it yet?
No.
That's a bummer.
It's in this distant galaxy. It's a little faint. It's called a low metallicity galaxy. It just means there's mostly stars don't have a lot of metal in them. It's kind of more of like, you know, it's your hydrogens and helium, maybe some silica. But nothing else like fun. No metals, no iron. Or lithium. Lithium is a metal in that case. Anything, it's like periodic table definition of metals, I think. But yeah, they're just like, but anyway, this star was in there. It was super, super, super bright. It's like one of the ones they could probably see individually. It certainly was one of the ones they could see individually. I don't know what one it is in that picture there. It turns out they don't know why it's gone. There was a theory that it was a supernova that didn't happen. It was an aged star anyway, so they thought, oh, this thing might have blown up and went supernova. Let's look at our old data, and there's nothing to suggest that it did that. That just kind of blipped out. So there's a thing called a failed supernova, where a star just kind of like doesn't really explode as part of it. It just does the implosion and just kind of sucks in on itself. That's one possibility of what happened. Some other people are saying maybe some dust just like moved in between the planet, between the star and us, which is, everyone loves to say dust moved into something in space to explain what something dims or whatever. Sometimes it's not really what the case is. It's kind of like, it is very funny. It is almost like a definite, some of our lighting. It's almost like the astronomy version of swamp gas for UFO sighting, funny enough. Like, it was dust. It's usually dust much more than it is swamp gas. Speaking of swamp gas, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, did you know there's an eclipse tomorrow night?
I did not know that.
It sucks. That's why you don't know about it. It's not very good.
Oh.
It's a full moon, and there'll be a very faint eclipse. You see this map here. This kind of shows like the two circles indicate the two kind of shadows of Earth. The one in the center is the deep shadow. That's when you see, when the whole moon goes into that, that's when you see like the moon turn that blood red color, you know, from all the light being mostly gone from it. However,
so it's not God stealing the sun. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, except, you know, if you no, it's not. But the second one is like the penumbral shadow, and the moon is barely touching the outer of that shadow. So you might notice some dimming on the moon for an hour or two tomorrow evening through Sunday morning.
So it'll look bloody?
No.
Oh, bummer.
You won't. Most people won't notice at all. You just look and see a full moon. Maybe a little corner of the moon looks a little fainter, and you just think it's something wrong with your eyes.
Does it?
You might notice it better in binoculars.
Doesn't sound like it counts.
It technically counts.
Oh.
I've seen enough people like post about it that I felt like we should put this on here to be like, you're not missing out on much tomorrow if you miss it. But if you're up, check out Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars, because they're up tonight.
I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna be asleep.
Yeah.
I'm tired. You are too. You're getting old.
I know. But you
That's
know what
the real
else?
news alert.
What else is fun tomorrow evening though? Tomorrow day? On July 4th?
No, what?
We're the furthest away that we are from the sun for the whole year. Even though it's also mega hot.
Oh, good for
Yeah.
us.
So it's kind of a funny thing. We think the seasons are because of how close we are to the sun. It's not the case because it's hot as crap in the northeast and we're far away. It's the tilt of the planet, kind of the angle that we're at. So we're tilted towards the sun. That's why we have the long day and it's like hot as shit.
Yeah.
But the southern hemisphere, it's winter. There you go. And they're having winter even though we're close. So there's
Tomorrow
that.
is also our last America Day. Mr. Skin Skull points out it's the last of America Day.
It is. It's the last July 4th, so it's fitting that we're the furthest from our star. And you mentioned this earlier. That planet that lost most of its atmosphere, the gas, the thing they think might be the gas giant, the core of one. Yeah. There's some folks using some data from I think tests. I'm not certain. There could have been some other ones too, but they saw a planet. It was about 39 times the size of Earth, but it didn't have they did a lot of observations and it seemed smaller than it should be. The density checked out, but not the size, if that makes sense. So it's like, oh, it's like a rocky planet, but that doesn't work out. Why isn't there big atmosphere in it like Jupiter or Neptune or whatever? It's pretty close to the star. They think maybe the star took its atmosphere away.
Wow, it's a bummer.
So if Jupiter or Neptune got real close, Uranus, Saturn, our sun might do that to them too. But yeah. So kind of weird. They're still not entirely sure what's going on, but it's smaller than Jupiter, but way bigger than us. 39 times bigger than us. But for scale, this core of a planet, not the full thing, is still double the size, if not 2.5-ish times the size of Neptune or Uranus, which are way bigger than us, but still way smaller than Jupiter. The universe.
Oh my god, I just realized something. This wine is a Chardonnay from the Starlight Winery in Australia.
Well, shout out to the Starlight Winery in Australia. Use offer code STARTIME for 10% off your next order. We don't have an offer code. Don't order wine with it.
I know where to get it.
Where?
Online.
Oh, wine.com. Check it out. www. Wine.
Actually, it's
W-I-N-E.
Wine Insiders. And I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to get through these very, very turbulent times. Yeah.
Very exciting. Anyway. So, the plague.
Yeah.
The plague.
I heard it was a really good time.
It was not
Probably
a good
one
time.
of the better natural disasters.
You know what is a good time? Stellarium crashing twice when I switched to it after I set it up real nice.
Oh.
Yeah. It'll be up in a second.
It's because you mentioned the plague.
It is because I mentioned the plague. It's horrible. Alright, but let's see what we got here. It'd be cool if Trump blew up the sun. I'm sick of it. I get burned by it. We can live off the light of the moon. The moon is the light of the sun. Alright, let's...
Maybe we can put Trump into the sun. Maybe he'd want to go. He'd be the first president to go. I say we pull our funds and let him do it.
We have multiple sun missions going on right now. There actually is a probe diving in and out of the sun, more or less, with the outer atmosphere
That seems
of
like
the sun.
a waste of money and time. But whatever floats your boat.
Well, it tells us when the sun's having a storm so we can make sure we get all of our shit protected. If the sun has a big storm, we get lots of cool aurora. Then we also get let's see here, 4 in the morning. But we also get power outages and stuff. That's here we go. So, it's the plague. Picture yourself. It's I don't know, 1347. You're in Europe.
Okay.
You just buried your family.
Sick.
You're sick.
Bummer.
But you're mostly okay now. Except for all the trauma that you have about burying your family.
Okay.
Your child's dead.
Ugh. Burden lifted.
Your wife's dead.
Whoa.
Mother-in-law's
Didn't know I was
dead.
into that. Okay.
Dun-dun-dun-ch.
Oh.
It was just a joke there. I'm not gonna make it. I'm not from the Catskills and doing a Pocono show in 1951. You know? But you know what? There was an astrologer that was alive.
For how long?
I don't know, long enough to look at the star charts from a couple years before and say, guys, you know what happened? There was an alignment of planets the morning, March 20th, 1345, right before the sun came up. And you know what? I bet this here, these 3 planets in Aquarius, they caused the plague. That's what caused it.
Wow.
Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn up in the morning, causing the plague. Thank you, Mr. Skinskill. It is an extremely happy story.
Plague days were a very strange time, I have to say. Although, interesting.
I'm informed by Allie that the Catskills and the Poconos are not the same, and I apologize for that. My knowledge of New York State is more so the North Country, and so I mix up everything below the Adirondack Mountains into one thing. I didn't even know the Poconos weren't tropical islands until I was 20.
I'm not
So,
from here, so I don't know
thank you,
what to
Miss
say.
Allie. But yeah. So, I think from my dad, the Catskills are more for hunting, and Poconos are more for vacation.
I know nothing.
I just like the name of the Catskills.
It sounds like a very old brothel.
Oof.
Not a good one.
The Poconos have the cool love hotels.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that.
They're slimy.
Ew.
Anyway, so we're checking out these plague planets. Look at it. Jupiter and Saturn and Mars in the morning right before the Black Plague hits. That's crazy, isn't it?
Wow. Yes.
It's a good thing that's not happening now.
Oh, is it happening now? That's awesome. Is it?
Well, let's take a peek, shall we? What's happening this morning? This is the 3rd. Let's look at the 4th, America's Independence Day. What a jolly time we're having here. Like, we're waking up. Maybe we're, like, day drinking to, like, play with fire. It's gonna be a good time on the grill, eh? So, it's the southeast. We're up. It's 2020. Alright. Let's see. Huh. I zoomed in too much. Haha. That's an astronomy trick too. Use binoculars when finding something and not a telescope. So yeah, what's this? What do the skies look like looking south around 3 in the morning? Oh, what are those planets, Jasmine?
Huh. Whoa, it's Saturn and it's Jupiter.
And it's little Mars.
Cool.
So we can just say that this has also caused our current plague. And it's not as bad as the Black Plague yet because
I'd say...
they're not as close together.
I don't know, I'd say things are worse now.
We're not burying our family in the backyard yet.
Yeah, but right now, like, people are just being weird about masks, and if you think about it, that's really strange, because even plague doctors knew enough to wear masks back in the day, and they thought that, like, the plague was caused by demons shooting out of Uranus.
They thought it was caused by quite a few things, actually, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But check it out. So tomorrow's Star Time Fun Time is check out the 3 planets in the morning. You can pretend you're in the Black Plague. You might not want to do that because you're already feeling very stressed. But you want to know a fun trick we can do with these planets?
You can just pretend you're in the now plague you're experiencing.
Let's advance. Let's see how the planets come together and change position over the next... Oh, I don't know. Well, this day-by-day advancement's not doing too much for me. Let's do month by month, shall we?
I think this is why my corn isn't coming in.
Your corn's not coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, they're falling far away from each other. So Mars and Jupiter and Saturn are going far away from each other right now.
This doesn't bode well
In the future months, we're okay.
We will have to sacrifice something. And
You
I'm
think?
not talking about vices.
Well, you know what we need to sacrifice? We need to sacrifice... Yay! Okay. We'll just not have music for the moment, and I'm very sorry. Thank you. We'll get back to it. So, plague doctors. We need to get our headphones ready for the next time we do this.
I know, but it distracts me.
Apologies and thank you for hanging in there, folks. Now, plague doctors, Jasmine, were they blamed for causing the plague?
Yes.
They were. And what was your theory?
Ancient alien theorists believe that people did witness men in black cloaks with sickles spraying what could be viruses onto fields and crops.
And you learned this from the History Channel.
Yes.
From Ancient Aliens.
Not even joking, legit stuff.
Ah,
from ancient alien theorists
true.
that probably maybe believe that.
But minus that's not real. The people did not blame the plague doctors generally.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It would suck if they had
Surprisingly.
it. I just assume it's like now where we're just blaming doctors for everything.
Yeah, right. How about comets? Was a comet blamed for the plague?
I don't want to say blamed, but it was a symbol that it was there, or like a bad omen.
It was actually not blamed. Amazingly. Can you believe that?
Yes.
However, here's some stuff I found. People are really fond about blaming them for other plagues. There's an extremely bright appearance of Halley's Comet in like the late Roman era that caused like Justinian's plague. And there's some theory that actually a piece of the comet, just since it was very bright and pretty close to Earth, actually broke off and hit Greenland, causing a minor ice age and creating conditions that were conducive to the plague breaking out in Europe.
AKA aliens.
However, it has not been proven with any follow-up studies as far as I'm aware. Maybe it has been, but it turns out I unearthed a whole trove of papers submitted to other bunch of journals about their theories for comets causing different sorts of plagues. There was one, Comet Inc., supposedly they think was close to Earth, and somehow panspermia caused the influenza outbreak in 1917-18. I don't think that got any traction either.
That's wild.
That's not what happened. Comets did not cause the plague. What about Miss Aliens? UFOs. Did aliens cause the plague?
Well,
Were they blamed?
Going by ancient... Oh.
Were they blamed by the authorities at the time? That's the rules of the blame game.
No.
Yeah, no, they didn't really talk about aliens. However...
They should have.
So, this is medieval Europe, so guess who did get blamed for the plague? Maybe, or maybe not.
Witches?
That is a woodcut of Jewish people.
Oh! I cannot see that from here. That is...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, did the authorities blame Jewish people?
It would have been easy, yeah. I'm gonna say yes.
They unfortunately totally did. It was very shitty. Despite even the Pope at the time saying, obviously Jewish people did not cause the plague since they're also dying and getting sick just like the rest of us.
Yeah, it was just a...
But,
But yeah, that's probably around the
pretty
time
shitty.
things started to break down, right? When people were just dying and you couldn't really control it. Not that I'm giving that as an excuse.
Yeah, I mean, other people undoubtedly did too.
Glad we don't do that today.
No. Like, did they blame the Chinese folks for causing the plague?
Of course.
They did not.
Really?
Mm-hmm. No. Unlike, say, a certain president might have done.
Oh,
But
I just
they did
assume
not.
that people colonizers are going to do that. Like,
But they did. Did they blame God or the devil?
of course you blame the devil.
Okay.
It's because you rejected God's light and you were not penitent enough. And you touch yourself at night, and that's why the plague came.
I actually found out something kind of interesting about this. Some people certainly blame the devil. Christians, because this was a half the world pandemic. North Africa, Eurasia, Europe. Though Eurasia is Europe and Asia, but
Yeah.
So Christian folks said, this is the wrath of God.
Mm-hmm.
God is doing this to hurt us. Nothing we can do will stop this. This sucks. We'll try praying, but we've probably all done like bad things. We deserve this. The Muslim reaction to this was a little different.
Okay.
Still blamed higher forces,
Mm-hmm.
but their version was accept this as a blessing if you come down to this, and if you die of the plague, you'll go to heaven. But there are conditions. You can't try to not get the plague. You can't go and avoid it consciously, but you also cannot go get it. You can't be like, yo, please give me the plague so I can go to heaven. That was not the condition. So 2 different outlooks on how to get the plague, neither of which correct.
Wow, it's a glass half full situation. Good for them.
But miasma.
Yes, for sure.
Yes, this was considered the advanced thing at the time. So some learned folks was like, there's miasma, and it goes into the atmosphere.
That was like their doctor lawyer talk.
Mm-hmm. And the plague doctors would be like, maybe.
I don't know. I'm gonna stuff more garlic cloves into my beak.
Let's smear more human feces on your wounds. This should work.
Yeah. Some snake bites. That'll help. What about... Well, actually, burning the boils was the thing people did for sure.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff.
I probably could be convinced that would help. Ugh. Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. How about them?
No?
Well, yeah, we just talked about it.
Yeah.
What about rats?
Oh, they should have, but no.
They didn't, and you know what's interesting?
Hmm.
Maybe they weren't the primary spreader. Read another interesting paper, and there's some follow-up studies on this that claims that possibly originating or help being carried by rats with the fleas on them, but primarily caused by everyone in Europe's horrible hygiene.
That was probably just like a gasoline on fire situation.
It's like they'll be plagued from a few rats for sure, and then everyone just being like, oh no, that person has a plague. Really? Let me check. Wow, let me suck the evil out of the wound or whatever. Yeah.
Some wild times.
So it's kind of now become humans actually were really responsible for the transmission. What we got
Your
there?
mom's the primary spreader.
I'll be glad to tell my mom that you said that. I'm sure she'll love to hear that. What about fleas? Did they blame fleas carrying plague germs?
I mean, he's a pretty good bassist and all, but I don't see him doing anything weird like that.
I actually had an ex-girlfriend that was hit on by a flea.
I know.
Yeah. But no, they didn't really even associate fleas with anything other than just things that were always around.
Well, anyway,
because everyone was filthy.
Bad dad joke for the day. I'm not going to do any others. Sorry.
So yeah, fleas were not blamed, but they are blamed now. Asterisk. But really...
Ugh.
Yeah, did they blame human-to-human contact?
They should have.
They didn't sort of at first, but then kind of got around to sort of understanding that.
Yeah,
dirtiest people like now.
I was gonna say, that's like a MAGA greeting now, is just to make a point.
Hey, let's cough in each other's mouths. It's cool.
Let's lick all the door handles.
But here's an interesting thing. Modern quarantine started after the plague. Quarantine and improved hygiene for folks in Europe.
I knew you guys would get it eventually.
Eventually. It's like, you mean like we don't leave our trash in the streets? Well, you can leave it in the streets, so maybe not so much. Maybe we should burn the garbage after a while.
Y'all can't do anything until a bunch of people die. I'm just
Even then, kind of, it's like a lot of people need to die. It's like, what, 40 to 60% of Europe's population?
Yeah.
Hit Europe a lot harder than everywhere else. Why is that?
It's like, how many people? Okay, fine. Soap. We'll do it.
Ugh, gotta wash my hands. So, that concludes the blame game for the evening. And that concludes tonight's Star Time. We're so glad you joined us tonight. It's a little briefer than usual. Yeah. Actually, it's our normal. We don't have a guest, but next week we may have a fun guest to discuss should we even be in space? What is our future? And what are some health issues if we go into space and decide that we can live there just fine?
Diabetes.
Well, that's just if we eat a diet of sugar. Fat, delicious treats. We go into space with nothing but Hostess fruit pies.
There's no coffee up there or beer, so
well, there
I'm
is.
out.
There's coffee. It's bad. I mean, most of the food's not great.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go.
Well, we will discuss if maybe you can change your mind about going or not in next week's Start Time.
No.
Thank you all for joining us. Apologies for the brief audio outage, but that just means we're gonna have some fun headphones next week because we've been dancing around the issue of getting monitors. So,
yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will talk to you all next week.
Lovely.
Bye.
Bye.